Hey everybody, Quinn Baum here with Names and Numbers, and today I want to talk about a chapter out of Dan O'Reilly's book, Predictably Irrational. I love this book. You should read it. Anyway, in his book, he's got a chapter called The High Price of Ownership. And to make his point, he tells the story or shows us how the university, the Duke, uh, gives out its basketball tickets to its student section. Really interesting. So, basketball season starts, and next to the stadium, which is a small and intimate, loud stadium, there's a field. And in the field, when basketball season starts, these tents pop up, and the students start camping in line to get tickets to go see the game. In fact, they call it Krzyzewskiville after Coach Krzyzewski, and it's called K-town. If you want to go to the basketball game, you have to spend some time in camp, and it is just absolutely nuts. Sometimes it snows, sometimes it rains, and these kids are missing school. They've left their dorm rooms. It's uncomfortable, but they're willing to do this because, of course, Duke has pretty darn good basketball teams every year. Well, the crazy thing is even if you're first in line, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a ticket. It just means that you're guaranteed a lottery number, and then they run a lottery to see who gets tickets and who doesn't. So Dan O'Reilly, along with Richard Thaler and a couple other heavy hitters in the world of behavioral science, wanted to study the difference between the haves and the have-nots, and they used this system, the K-town system, to get a real good grasp of the value that we place on things that we have or that we don't have. So the spring of '94 rolls around. Duke is going to play in the national championship game against Arkansas. And of course, the students are camped out, and they're either going to get tickets or they're not going to get tickets. And of course, they go through the lottery system, and O'Reilly and his team get the list of students who have tickets, who received them, and those who didn't. And they start making calls. So a call would go kind of like this. With a student who didn't receive a ticket, they'd make a call, say, hey, we heard that you camped out, you got a lottery number, but you didn't get a ticket. What is the maximum dollar amount that you would pay in order to go to the game? We're putting together a system where we might be able to match you up with a student who's willing to sell their ticket to you, and you can go to the game. And the student would think about it. They say, well, it's the national. I pay probably $100. Oh, come on, really? $100? You got to do better than that. Well, maybe I'd go up to $150. Really, is that the best you do? $150? Well, it's the national. You know what? The most I could pay is about $175. I pay $175 to go to the game. Okay, thank you. I've taken your name and the amount that you'd be willing to pay. And if we can find somebody who's willing to sell their ticket to you, we'll make it happen. So that's how it went for the students who didn't get tickets. They did the same thing with the students who did. They called them up. They said, hey, we saw that you were in line. You got a lottery ticket. You got an actual ticket to the game. And we were just wondering, we've set up a system where we've got some students who didn't get tickets who'd like to pay to go see. How much would you sell your ticket to the national championship for? And the student, it's the national championship. I think I'd be willing to part with my ticket for $3,000. $3,000? That's a lot of money. Are you sure? That's a lot of money. I guess if I was really pushed, I'd come down to about $2,400. Oh, okay. We've got the system in place. We'll write your name down, and if we can make it happen, we'll make the exchange. And sure enough, what they found is on average, those who had not received tickets were willing to pay $175 to get one, and those who did were on average only willing to sell at $2,400. Now that is a difference of 14 times. There is a huge gap between those who had and those who didn't. Those who owned a ticket already valued it much, much higher than those that didn't. Now, the end of that story is that Duke lost to Arkansas 76-72, but it tells a really, and it makes a great point. Okay, so how do we apply this in sales? I've talked about it before. In the phone book world, we use spec art. We want the customer to feel like they own a part of the directory already. So we build an ad for them, we'll put their logo, their phone number in there, and the best reps will actually take the book and they'll put that spec art right in between the pages where that ad would be, so they can open up, they see it in the book, they see their logo, they see their phone number. And all of a sudden that ad they start to own it. Anything you can do to make your customer own whatever it is you're selling before they ever pay for it is going to create exactly what we saw in K-ville, that big difference between those who do and those who do not have tickets. So go out, think about your work, think about how you can present your product or service to your customer in a way where they own it before they ever pay for it. Now, if you haven't already, look up K-Town, look up Duke. There's some YouTube videos on how it works, and there's some pictures online. It is super fascinating. As always, I'm Quinn Baum with Names and Numbers. Thanks for joining me today. Go out and make a great week.